Hey everybody, welcome back to BK's Bullets. Today we're talking Captain America, the First Avenger, in our March to Infinity War. Hey everybody, welcome back to BK's Bullets. As always, I'm your host, Brent. Today we're talking about our March to Infinity War with the next movie on our list, Captain America, the First Avenger. Now, I have a couple of these videos to do. I am behind. I will admit I got behind because I was traveling, but I did get you guys some other content there. We got our Black Panther review up on time, so that is good. So we're going to do Captain America, and we'll have another video for Avengers, Iron Man 3, and then after that, Thor the Dark World. I hope to get them all out before the end of this coming week on Friday. That's my goal, so there you go. Anyway, let's talk about the movie. Here we got Chris Evans starring as Captain America. He had previously been in Marvel movies as Human Torch in the Fantastic Four movies, which I think are not as bad as other people were saying they were, but I enjoyed them, you know, for what they were. That's okay. Not everybody has to enjoy everything. That's totally fine. It is directed by Joe Johnston, and this is significant because I think he was kind of picked because his previous movie, not the only one, but one of his previous ones was The Rocketeer back in the 90s. Also a comic book film. So that was set in World War II with some kind of fantastical elements. This is set in World War II with some really fantastical elements. So I think they liked the feeling of that and then said, hey, Joe Johnston, come over here and direct it for us. So this movie kind of all takes place in World War II, if you haven't recalled. It's bookended by them finding a ship in the ice where Captain America is not buried but frozen. That ship shows up in the climax of the movie where Cap decides to take it down into the ice. This is spoilers, but this movie came out in 2011, so just a quick little refresher. And then at the end of the movie, Cap wakes up in what seems to be like a 1940s hotel room, realizes that the game he's listening to on the radio, he's already heard or seen, been to that game. So he breaks out, runs into Times Square in the modern day, and is confronted by Nick Fury, who kind of says, like, hey man, you're out of time. Like, we got to figure this out. Come with us. And that's where the movie ends. So those little bookends are all the only like present day stuff we get. Everything else is in the 1940s. So, what can you say about Chris Evans as Steve Rogers? I don't want to say like he is Steve Rogers. He is Steve Rogers to me. I feel like he certainly got the idea of the character down, but I wasn't a big Captain America fan up until this point, so I can't definitively say that he is the definitive Captain America that is, ever was, or ever will be on screen, because there might be a guy that maybe someday does it better than him. Who knows? But he is a really, really good representation of, I guess, what some people wanted Superman to be in Man of Steel. He is a big blue Boy Scout. And, he doesn't curse. He tries to stand up for people. He doesn't like bullies. He says that over and over again in the film. And, whether he's skinny Steve or buff Steve, he is the same person on the inside. And that's kind of the theme of this Captain America First Avenger film. Why is it called Captain America the First Avenger? Well, I believe, if I recall correctly, in other territories, other countries around the world, it might not have been called Captain America. It might have been called the First Avenger on the top line, and then Captain America, or just nothing else, or just the First Avenger is kind of what I'm saying. Because at that time, I guess Marvel was a little wary of having a movie called Captain America elsewhere. America wasn't very popular at the time. We had the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq going on. Barack Obama was president, but I feel like on the political sphere, we just weren't doing that too well. So there you go. That's why he has that subtitle there instead of just Captain America. Anyway, it helps out though because it goes on into putting a subtitle for each other movie in that series. Whereas Iron Man is just Iron Man 1, 2, 3. Guardians is now Guardians Volumes, Volume 2, and probably a Volume 3. Spider-Man, it will probably have the subtitles, because we've already had a Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3. I'm trying to think. Thor has subtitles, and I'm trying to think what else. So it'll be interesting to see if other Marvel movies have a subtitle, a secondary title, or if they do the number thing. But it's kind of half and half right now. Not everything's gotten a sequel. Ant-Man and the Wasp, another, longer title. So it probably started that trend there. So anyway, we got Hugo Weaving as Johann Schmidt, or the Red Skull. He's great in this film. Hugo Weaving was just kind of on a roll in the 2000s. He was Elrond in the Lord of the Rings films. Then he moved over after that into V for Vendetta. Say what you will about the film, he was great in it. And even though you never saw his face, his voice delivery was fantastic. I don't know if he was in the suit. The special features, I watched it recently, made it seem like he was in the suit, but they never had any behind-the-scenes footage of him like taking off the mask on set or anything like that. So, jury's out on that one. But his voice delivery was fantastic. And then he came over here and did Red Skull, which was a great performance, I think. And I really like the way that they did the makeup for the Red Skull. It wasn't a CG performance. He starts off the film with, he is the Red Skull. He just has like a skin mask on, and he takes it off in the middle of the film when Captain America goes to save Bucky. And after that, he's totally Red Skull in the red makeup the whole time. Now, I think I was reading previously that Hugo Weaving did not like the makeup process for this film. And if they ever decide to bring Red Skull back, it will not be with Hugo Weaving unless they figure out a way to do it differently. I think that's what I read, and I think that is true. I've read that a couple other places, so who knows. But anyway, sad to see Red Skull go at the end of the film, and it was kind of weird. He just grabs the cosmic cube at the very end and holds it up, and then kind of like disintegrates or like melts away, kind of very Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade? No, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Just kind of melts away upwards into some weird other dimension. It's very strange. Well, we haven't seen him again or heard anything of him since. You've got Peggy Carter here, played by Haley Atwell. She had her own series going on for 2 seasons. I think I watched the first episode or 2, and she's fine in the movies. She's really only in this movie, to be honest. But I just never really got into her character, and that's okay. You don't have to like every Marvel character. I stopped watching S.H.I.E.L.D. after season 3, I believe. Just felt like they were grabbing at straws because the Marvel Universe didn't want to play with the TV universe. So anyway, if you like her a lot in this movie, go check out Agent Carter, streaming somewhere or on iTunes or wherever you can get it. We got Sebastian Stan as Bucky Barnes. He later on becomes, the Winter Soldier and has a big role in Civil War. And, there's a teaser with him at the end of Black Panther. So he's going to be a bigger force. But here he was kind of more reserved. We didn't really know what they were going to do with him. But he was a good actor. And he did play off Steve very well. But the interesting thing was with this character, in the comics, he's a 16 or 14-year-old sidekick to Captain America, who's like a grown man in the books in like the 1940s when he was introduced. And Bucky was like, 12, 13, whatever, like Robin's age, like really, really young. Cap was this tall, Bucky was always this tall. And he was a boy, and he went and shot people or did something. So it was really weird to have this young adolescent boy on the front lines. And the movie instead aged him up to be Steve's contemporary, his best friend, going into the transformation, and then coming out of it, he's like this super duper sniper and things like that. So it was a really cool take on Bucky to just kind of age him up, so it's a little less creepy and a little less Batman and Robin, kind of this weird ward mentor relationship. Are they gay or are they not gay? Even though later on people are like, oh dude, those guys are totally gay for each other. That's okay. But it's I felt like watching this film thinking with that in the back of my mind of, is there really a relationship that they're hinting at here? It wasn't presented that way, but I could almost see like the beginnings of the strands that people pull on to work that theory. So that's an interesting viewpoint. Who else is in this movie? Tommy Lee Jones is in this movie. Colonel Phillips, really quickly, just being Tommy Lee Jones, doing his same old thing, which is perfectly fine, does an adequate job. And then Stanley Tucci is Dr. Erskine, the guy who develops the formula. And I recognized this guy last night when I was watching it, Richard Armitage. And you might not know him off the name immediately, but he played Thorin in the Hobbit movies. He was the German spy that killed Dr. Erskine, and Steve had that chase scene throughout the streets of Brooklyn with. He was also in the last season of Hannibal. He played the Red Dragon. So I just thought that was interesting. I recognized his nose. He's got a really big nose on him, so I recognized that. That was interesting. But this film is a good film. It's fine. it turns Hydra into this band of like Nazis, which was fine at the time. I think I was like, oh, okay, here's how we're gonna get Hydra, and it almost seemed like they were just gonna do away with him after the fact. Like, hey, this is a people from World War II, and we're not gonna do anything with them after the fact. They later on did, and then even then, the problem I think that I have with Hydra being Nazis in the film is nothing. It's fine. The problem is that Marvel takes everything that the movies do and eventually reincorporates it back into the comics. So prior to 2011, when this film came out, Hydra was a modern terrorist organization that just wanted to take over the world. Just like AIM, just like, not Cobra. Cobra is in DC. There's a couple organizations in the Marvel Universe that all are kind of basically the same cookie cutter terrorist organization. They just have different uniforms. We'll get to AIM when we talk about Iron Man 3. But anyway, they were just around. They never had a really specific ideology other than cut off one head, 2 more will grow back in its place, because there will always be more Hydra soldiers. But Marvel took this Nazi idea from this film, reincorporated it back into the comics, and more recently, because they had the Red Skull take over Hydra, and since the Red Skull is a Nazi, always has been, always will be, it now made Hydra Nazis, and then now you have the general public perception of Hydra being Nazis because of the Captain America First Avenger film. So when you get to Secret Empire, that comic book storyline where Steve is revealed to be a Hydra brainwashed person, now it turns into Captain America being a Nazi, which is kind of, in the storyline, it's kind of debatable, yes and no. And my problem with it was like, okay, this is just a bastardization of Hydra because the film did this, and then Marvel always reincorporates it. Like, even the designs of characters or the designs of vehicles pop up in their books all the time from whatever the movies are or whatever the movies have. And I'm just like, can we just keep the things separate? You know, I realize you want to keep a distance, but either make the movies the comics or make the comics the movies, but don't do, this blending stuff is just getting confusing. But that's a separate issue for a separate day. So, the film, you have a quick plot recap. Steve wants to be in the army. He's too skinny, he's too small to be a part of the army, so he joins a special program at the World's Fair, and Howard Stark is there. Anyway, Erskine grabs him, sees he's a good guy. He goes into boot camp, still as like young, small, skinny Steve, and then after that is shown that he has incredible spirit because he jumps on a grenade, everybody else jumps away, and he's protecting people. And so that's his inner nature, and that's why he's selected to get the super soldier serum first. Erskine dies, there's a chase sequence, and then you have Cap being shuttled around on basically a promotional tour in the classic, which was a really cool moment in the film, in the classic like leotard, spandexy suit with the wings and all that stuff, basically selling war bonds instead of being put to use. So he's doing like a USO tour or something like that over in Europe at one point in time, and then finds out that Bucky's been captured or killed, so he feels he has it on himself to go and rescue those people. So he puts a jacket on over his crappy costume and a helmet on from one of the showgirls that was dancing next to him, and now he's pseudo Captain America of World War II. And then he's successful there, rescues Bucky, rescues Dum Dum Dugan, who's in this film, and brings everybody back. And then from there, he gets a new suit, gets the actual circular shield from Howard Stark, and then he's Captain America. Great montage here of him fighting Hydra, and then you have like the final showdown with Red Skull and Cap in the airplane, and then boom, crash into the ice kind of thing. Great movie. I definitely liked it. If I were to rate it, I would give this 4.5 out of 5 stars, so 4.5. I don't know what a 5-star Marvel movie is for me just yet, and thinking forward on them, I don't know that there is one just yet, but this is a really, really good film. I definitely think it holds up, and it's worth your time to check out if you just enjoy a good Captain America story. So check it out. Please like the video if you did, thumbs up if you did, thumbs down if you didn't, like, comment, subscribe down below. Tell me what you think about the video or the movie or what you're looking forward to in Infinity War coming out in May, and I'll see you guys in the funny pages.